I look kind of,
From there.
I look a little film noir here, don't I? I should turn on another one. There you go. All
I
right.
played around too. I had to, when the window's open, it's like a huge light and then everything else is dark. So
Right.
Stato oscuro. Hi, thanks
Hi.
for agreeing to this interview. Hello, dog. Or
It's
cat.
Jojo. Jojo, come
Dog.
here. Come say hi. Come say hi. She's a very, very friendly creature.
Oh, hi.
Not really. I don't think she quite gets that there's a person there. If she
No,
did,
it
she'd be
doesn't.
all
It
over you.
doesn't really make sense.
No.
So my name is Jaya Carson-Meyer-Bone. I'm a school teacher by day, except for, well, I had a head injury, so that's why I'm here right now. but Dialexicon is a listening project of short interviews where folks share their profession, their passion, or a particular project. I maintain that anyone can do 1,000 different Dialexicon interviews, and they're all perfect. It's not intended to provide any sort of authoritative account of anything. My deepest desire is to call folks into presence, that you could, interview your idol or your neighbor equally, and just think into that kind of listening that makes it possible to be in the moment. That sounds really esoteric, but I love language and I love people. And so the two questions I'd like to ask you are, so I'm starting from, I'm a listener of CBC, I'm a fan, and
Thank you.
I heard you say this little thing one time about anticipating the next note, that when you hear two beats, then it's almost like you're waiting for the third. Yeah. And if that's not too broad or specific an opening, can you share more what that means to you?
It's funny, quite by coincidence, that came up today in correspondence. I forget how, but the idea, I have a friend who's a speech language pathologist, and we talked about that for some reason not long ago, and she said that she believes all language is based on that process of anticipation, of the way that we quickly digest what it is we've heard and begin to predict what it is we might hear. So this happens to me all the time in conversation, where if someone is speaking, saying, I went to the, and my brain will be saying store, park, if it's slow enough, and if something in me allows me to pay attention to that, then I realize I'm constantly predicting what the next word is going to be. And that is, in many ways, is the basis of humor. In the course of this correspondence this morning with my daughter, I remembered the Bob and Ray comedy sketch about the slow talkers of America. Do you know this? It's so funny because we know what it is he's going to say. I'm the president of the STOA. And the interviewer is constantly trying to get him to finish more quickly. And sometimes he guesses correctly and sometimes not, which is really funny. But it's an old bit, it's from the 1970s, at least, maybe earlier. And I've heard it many times, but it really makes me laugh. And I think it's because of that. I think it's that, I think it's part of what allows us to be social creatures, that we communicate in this way. And so when it relates to music, I believe in that. I know I'm not alone in this, that music is our proto-language, that before we had the cognitive capacity for speech, we communicated, our simian ancestors communicated with melodic gestures, right? And to this day, that's one of the reasons that music for most humans is profoundly and instantly emotional, way more so than speech. If you hear something that is moving, musically, it doesn't go through your conscious brain. It doesn't ask you, "Hey, what do you think of this? Is this interesting?" You already get goosebumps. You already feel these physical sensations, and I think that's because it relates to survival. That when we were infant um, primates, tree-dwelling primates, and our caregiver, our mother or father, probably mother, would be saying, "I love you," or "I'm going to feed you," or "Look out, there's a snake." We would need to understand those gestures immediately, or we would die. So evolution has meant that those of us who are here are descended from creatures that were musically literate and could understand and act on these messages. So in the same way, when we hear a melodic contour, we're our animal brain, our amygdala, and our ancient brain is way ahead of our thinking brain, trying to decide, is this "I love you," or is this "Look out for that snake"? It's survival. And that's one of the reasons that those beautifully crafted pieces of music that stay with us, just like the comedy sketch by Bob and Ray, they merit thousands of hearings because they play on that thing which is vital to our survival. That's what I think.
I love it. Amazing. So there were a few things. So the second and final question is so I offer you a word from what you shared, and I'm going to give you choice because there were a few that emerged. I love the phrase melodic contour. That is just so painterly, and there's so much in that. But you said that it accesses emotion, and even a simple word like emotion or understanding. Like what is emotion then, or what is understanding?
Wow. What is understanding? That's a really good question. I think there are probably many different kinds of understanding. There's, the cognitive kind, which we need to navigate the modern world, which we need to navigate the business, the cold and business world. We need to know how much our train fare is going to be, and which is our subway stop, and what floor we have to get on and off, and what time we're supposed to be there. These are not emotional things, right? They require a kind of cognitive, very pragmatic understanding. At the same time, when we get to where we're going, we need emotional understanding. We need an understanding that says, who am I in this situation? Am I safe here? Am I being understood? Should I leave? Can I trust this person? Those are all profoundly minute by moment important survival skills for anyone. And that's all comes down to various levels of communication, not necessarily verbal communication. It's not really, could be the way a word is said, or the choice of language, for sure. But I think that it starts way before that. Understanding. That's that's very, 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 very hard to pin down. You can pick any story on the front page of any paper on any day, and it probably comes down to understanding or not understanding.
Yeah, I had the sense, like, one of the things when you describe that relationship to music and to the beat, what I loved is that it's in us. Like, there's a reciprocity to it. It's like we meet the music. And to me, if there's a message in the music, and I don't like being that black and white about it, but if there's a message of emotionality or some kind of understanding that's trying to inevitably be explained by this artist, like, I feel like there's something that's around the word of understanding that lands. Like, it lands. It's like having a simpatico experience.
Right.
There's something of mirroring in it or something.
Well, and that
like
could
the
just
thing
be,
over there arrives over here.
Yeah, and that could be, again, it could be our precognitive brain perceiving this message, because that ancient brain of ours works 3 times the speed of our cognitive processing. So the part that dissects language, or that um, finds words and uses them, that part of our mind, somewhere up here, um, it works 3 times more slowly than the part that is assessing threat and or finding comfort. You know, so music speaks to that other part first, and so much more quickly. And then our brains are left thinking, what am I experiencing here? What is this? You know, why? How come I know this? I mean, I love it when a piece of music, when I know a piece of music before I know what it is. You know, I had one of my favorite memories. This is these little things happen with music. I was backing the car out of the driveway in 1997, probably, maybe 98 or so. And I turned on the radio, and I heard this. Yeah, it was before I was hosting the morning show. So Peter Tanya was the host on what was then Stereo Morning, and I'm backing this Volkswagen down this very long, narrow shared driveway with brick walls on either side. So I'm concentrating on to scratch the car, and I realize I'm singing along with this music, but I don't know what it is yet. But I know it. You know, I know it deeply, and I learned at the end of the music, when Peter came on, that it was a piece by Colin McPhee, the Canadian composer, that he wrote for a wind orchestra that I had played in for the summer of 1983. So this was then 15 years prior or so, and I had played this beautiful piece, I don't know, 50 times at least that summer, more. But I hadn't heard it since, because there was no recording until this one. And it was a really profoundly moving experience, because I had to stop, and I had to stop what I was doing and just be in this music until I could figure out why it meant so much to me. It was really interesting.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
That's a really interesting story.
Yeah.
Well, for my purposes, our interview is complete, and
Great.
I want to honor your time. So,
Thank you. So tell me, I'm sorry, you don't have to tell me, but what was the head injury? What happened?
so I'm a teacher, and I got hit with a basketball in the back of the head.
Oh.
But I actually had a head injury last year, so I want to be really cautious about healing fully before returning fully to work. And in a way, I'm grateful it happened at work, because they're on board about what returning to work looks like. It was it's a strange thing.
So Zoom is our screen still a problem then? Is Zoom harder than?
I keep the light low, and I'll turn my extra light off now, but I don't know if you know other people with head injuries, but the newest therapy is kind of a version of exposure therapy. You're actually supposed to do things.
Oh yeah.
To a point, so in small increments. So they say, don't avoid screens completely, don't avoid exercise completely, don't avoid, even agitation. I have physio exercises that are essentially shaking my head, and but I have from last year all these strategies around reducing the aggravation of some triggers.
Right. The person, I do know people who've been through this, a few, and one is Kelly Lee Evans, the jazz singer. I would highly recommend that you contact her, because she is someone who understands communication and language and concussions and head injuries intrinsically. And she also had the amazing time. So she'll tell you her story. She was struck by lightning sort of indirectly. She was in her house wiping down the counter with a wet cloth with her hand on the tap when her house was struck by lightning, and it knocked her off and had a disabling kind of effect. But it was at the start of a summer tour and she went ahead and did the summer tour because she could still sing. She was not steady walking. Speaking was a challenge, but she could sing beautifully. Like
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
videos of that summer of performances, and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And then because of the instability in her feet, she had another fall 6 months later, and that was really devastating. But she is, back performing now, and she has a kind of an honorary professor role at Carleton, I believe. She's from Ottawa. She lives in Ottawa, but she's fantastic and she's very generous. And I think she would actually really like talking to you. So you should, if you want me to introduce you to her, I will.
I would love that. I'll send you an email. Is it Kelly Lee, Lee Evans?
Yeah, Kelly Lee is her one name. It's all one word, and Evans.
Yeah, I teach dance and drama, and I have 13 classes, and I'm always hopeless with their names anyways. So now I'm just like, remember, children, it's not personal. It's just not there anymore.
So do you mean that you were always hopeless with names? I mean, that's often a perfectly healthy brain has that problem.
Indeed. But now I feel like I've kind of given up. I'm just like, I'm not even going to look for it. It's just gone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Send me an email. I'll send you. There's a clip of her that summer that I cherish. So I'll send it to you, and I could introduce you to her. I would expect that she'd talk to you.
Yeah. Sarah Pauly had a major head injury, and her book Run to the Danger covers her process, which has been illuminating as well. I read it between concussions.
Was that on the set of Baron von Munchausen? Is that what I've been hearing about that lately? I think.
I think that was. I'm not. I forget. I forget if that was actually a head injury, but that was certainly a major childhood trauma that informs her relationship to children on set.
Right.
But no, the one that debilitated her for years was a freak accident. A fire extinguisher fell off the wall at like a community center onto her head.
God.
Yeah.
We're so vulnerable.
We're so vulnerable. My friend who had a major one that's really affected her life, she was bending down to help a student, and another kid flung his backpack onto his back and hit her in the head on the way. And she doesn't even remember it. She went off in a stretcher. Like,
oh my God.
What vulnerable beasts we are.
That's hard to believe we survived at all.
Yeah.
Okay, well, send me an email and I'll connect you with Kylie, and good luck. I think it's really interesting what you're doing, and I hope this helped.
Thank you so much, Tom, and have a great day.
Okay, nice to meet you.